All right, list time, baby.
List time.
List time.
Pull out the good old list.
The good old list. The list of films that changed our perspective.
So it's a very personal list.
It is a very personal list. Now, the crazy thing is, you did it chronologically. I did it chronologically, but in the beginning, I did it just in the sense of what meant the most to me.
Okay.
So I don't know which list I should go with here. Maybe instead of just being a contrarian, because we always have different perspectives on the lists. Maybe I'll just do it chronologically, just like you. So that's what I'm gonna
do. You do you, man.
You do me?
Yeah.
I mean,
what?
I
like individualism.
I'm single, but I don't know.
So I like individualism. I like if you do your own thing, you know.
True, but it is easier to just do chronologically. But you know what? Maybe I will be different. I'm gonna be different.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
I actually do. I only have 3 though.
Yeah, me too. 3.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
This is crazy.
Yeah. The first honorable mention for me is Citizen Kane. Okay. It's an honorable mention because it didn't necessarily change my perspective on like old film or old style film. There's a film in my actual list that did that. But Citizen Kane just basically reaffirmed that perspective. That's why it didn't create that perspective for me, but it reaffirmed it. That's why it's an honorable mention and not on the list. Mm-hmm. So, yep.
This is a weird honorable mention, but this is probably going to be... actually, no, this list is pretty sound, pretty generic in some ways. This is a weird one, though. Four Brothers.
Okay, yeah.
With, like, Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg and
Gibson. This movie was the first time that drama impacted me. It was the first time when I felt the gravity of a character's death.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm kind of a huge fan of, like, crime dramas. So that too, it kind of sparked that. And I was pretty young when it came out. So
I liked Four Brothers.
I liked it too. I haven't watched it since then. It's kind of like one of those things where I want to keep it in the memory bank.
Yeah. Plus, it's a Detroit rep. Detroit repping.
Detroit rep.
My next honorable mention is Marvel's The Avengers. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Mm-hmm. It's a recent one, but I loved it. And it didn't, like, reaffirm... I mean, it basically reaffirmed my love that I already had for superhero films, but it just... That film sort of just really, really impacted me.
You like that, the change in the direction, and that they were going to keep building up to something.
Yeah, like, exactly.
This is the first time that you actually got to see it and see it work.
It was like life-changing for me because never in a million years... When I was a kid, I never in a million years thought there would be an Avengers movie. I'd read the comic books and like, man, it would be so cool if I could see this in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the most we had was like Daredevil at the time, like stuff like that with Ben Affleck. And like Ghost Rider and all those films, and I'm like, oh,
they really needed to
kill it. They really needed to kill it.
They did. They realized what their issues were, and then didn't they actually like bring in Marvel? Like those ones weren't actually written by like Marvel people.
No, they weren't. Yeah.
So this one actually, like, they actually finally brought them in. They're like, well, this is probably what you're doing wrong with it, stuff like that. And ever since Iron Man,
yes, it's changed. It's changed it, man, and it just made me love cinema at that time. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, I mean, that was one of the best experiences I'll ever have in watching a movie. I was literally watching history being made.
Yeah.
In that film. I was like, wow.
Sure, yeah. I get that. I definitely felt the same way when I watched it.
Yes.
All right.
Last film I saw 3 times in the theater, by the way, was the first Avengers.
Really? Mm-hmm. I saw it twice. So,
nice.
Good stuff. The next one... City of God. It's the foreign film that made me want to seek out more foreign films. Mm-hmm. The storytelling is impeccable, giving a scene to provide context, but leaving out a key piece of information. And that completely changes the narrative once they bring in that piece of information back. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, this is masterful. It's a great gangster film. It like holds up against like almost any other gangster film.
So it reestablished your idea of narrative in film.
It did, and I guess I wasn't really excited to watch it before that, but it was on the IMDb 250, or 250.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this must be really good, and I didn't really know anything about film at the time. So I checked it out, and I was like, wow, they're making movies this great everywhere. This is even better than some movies that I've seen in America. I'm like, I gotta watch more of this.
Yeah.
So
For sure. A lot of people would probably put Pulp Fiction as well. Like, Pulp Fiction's like, blah, 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 like a reaffirming narrative. And
well, it's funny that you say that, because actually that was my next honorable mention.
Oh, really? Pulp Fiction?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I brought it up so many times. I love Pulp Fiction. That was before City of God, though.
Right. See, I wasn't making fun of that. I was just saying, like, a lot of, if you want to talk about the restructuring of narrative, I figured a lot of people do, about.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
This one, it's a little bit different. That one's like out of order and stuff like this. This one would like show a scene. It's like this carries the whole segment of the film and stuff. But there's one part of the scene that you didn't get to see before, and it completely changes everything.
It changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah, yep.
Which is great. That's why I'm not the biggest Tarantino fan. I like him. I do. I really like him. And when we do our top 10 list of most anticipated films 2019, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is on there. Oh,
makes
100%.
Sense.
Because I love some of his films.
If you haven't seen City of God, we got to watch it together. I've been meaning to rewatch it.
It's on my Netflix list.
Oh, really?
It's on Netflix,
There's a sequel called Children of Men. It's or City of Men, I think.
Okay, because Children of Men is Alfonso Cuarón.
Oh yeah. City of Men. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nearly as good. It was on Netflix. I checked it out. That even spawned this movie spawned that, and also spawned a TV show.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a big deal.
Interesting. Yeah, I need to check that out then. Mm-hmm. My last one, honorable mention, is Tree of Life. This made me fall in love with art house cinema. It was an amazing, amazing film filled with beautiful imagery, stuff that I've never seen, and it's like, I've seen ambiguity before in movies, but nothing like this film. This film, you completely get out what you put into it, you know, and that's what I thought really kind of shaped my love of the art house cinemas. And after Tree of Life, I've just been exploring art house cinema like crazy. And that's why Terrence Malick is one of my favorite filmmakers. I mean, I just love the fact that this guy goes out there, and his style of shooting is so good too. And it's so beautiful and so real. I mean, he shoots with only natural light, which I love. My film Fragments that's coming out is basically just a giant tribute to Terrence Malick. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man.
It's amazing that it's not on your top 5 then.
Yeah, I know. I love art house cinema. This was very close to being on the top 5, but these films just in my life are the cornerstones of like, this made me love this aspect of film, which led me to this and then led me to that.
Sure.
You know? And by the time Tree of Life came out, I already loved all of cinema, and I was ready to like, you know, kind of like open my mind to more things, which I'm always ready to do that. But at this point, I feel like it's kind of harder to get like more and more tiers. You know what I mean? Okay. Especially because when you're so young, you're so malleable when it comes to your love for film, where there's a lot of like definite turning points where you can pinpoint and be like, this film was this turning point for me.
I guess I'm just interested to see what else you got on here.
I got some weird.
I can't wait to hear them.
You're gonna be my first one is going to be like, you're gonna be like,
what?
Like, what?
But I gotta say, I haven't seen Tree of Life, but I have seen the opening scene. Mm-hmm. And I can already tell you, just from that scene, I can get a feel of like what's going on here. First of all, the film, it opens with like this cosmos like type thing. It's like almost like a documentary, and then it goes into like this like prehistoric age where they have like dinosaurs, and the dinosaur starts to defend its child. It's something about like, it's like instinct that comes to us and stuff like that. And since I know it's like a family drama, that definitely plays a part in it.
It's about instinct, and like, at least what I take out of it, it's like instinct and like protection of like the ones you love, whether it be emotionally or just inherently within your DNA, which is actually shown. I guess it's not a spoiler. You can't really spoil Tree of Life.
Sure.
But there's like a scene. It's all CG, but it's like a really beautiful scene where it's like you think you're in like space or something. Like, this is just weird looking, and then it turns out that these are like DNA isotopes that are just running around, and like, you know, you see like the strands of DNA like forming, and like you see cells like what's the word when cells separate? There's a word for it. I don't know. Osmosis? Something like that?
This is not a science.
Yeah, it's not a science thing. But point is, you see the DNA within you. So obviously, there's allegories of like the DNA kind of being within yourself, and like
it's something that you can almost you can't even comprehend. It's just something that's a part of us.
Exactly. And Terrence Malick majored in philosophy, in his
it's
college
gotta
days.
show. It's gotta show
And
that film.
and straight up in almost all of his films, his philosophical ideas are thrown out there like in the forefront. It's like this is what this film sort of represents, but it's like you got to come up with it by yourself. It's great.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to talk about it with you.
Yes.
When I do see it.
Yes, it's great. It's great. Not for everybody, I'll tell you that. I had my sister and her friends saw it, and they thought it was the worst film they've ever seen. They were like, they showed 20 minutes of just imagery. And I was like...
It's like, oh, wow, you didn't like that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's... And I'm not...
Have you never watched Planet Earth?
Right. I'm not dissing on her taste or anything, but I'm just saying
it's not for everybody.
It's not for everyone.
Sure, I get
Art
it.
house cinema in general is not for everybody. So.
All right. So I already told you what mine is, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I've talked about Pulp Fiction so many times.
That's right.
Anyway, since we're like writers, it's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're always interested to see like how you can change writing and incorporate a new framing device and stuff like that. Structure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool stuff. Good stuff.
Cool stuff.
So I had to say one thing though about where the fuck did my phone go? I gotta say one thing about my list. My top 5. So as I've told you before, I do it in like tiers. It's like a 1 through 5 tier, and I'm gonna tell you what the name of that tier is. But this is like my journey into like liking film, and it's kind of almost sad because some of these movies I've seen like pretty recently, and it's like kind of embarrassing that.
Not really. I mean,
I don't know, but like that I think I told you before, like that year 2014 to 2016, every single day I had all the free time in the world. I would watch one new movie, so I got to really find myself through there.
I mean, you're sort of a recent student of film.
A recent student,
relatively recent student.
I feel like I've had a lot of free time to like expand.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm kind of grateful for that.
Me, I've loved film since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend who's a teacher, and I had this old teacher, Mrs. Hodson, and I was in 5th grade, and I wrote a whole essay about how I wanted to be a director, like a movie director. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm like all the way back then.
Yeah, so I wanted to somehow find her email or something and like contact her and be like, do you still have that paper, because I would love to just make a copy of that and like frame that or something, because that would be sick. Just to,
that would be.
Yeah.
And it's cool that you haven't drifted off from that either.
I have not drifted
I have drifted off I think 3 times in like what I've wanted to do with my life, which is frustrating as hell, but
hey man, it happens, man. I still know people who have no idea what they want to do with their life, so it's all good, man. At least you know what you love. But I will say that even though I've wanted to be a filmmaker forever, I mean, my tastes have changed as a filmmaker.
Yeah, for sure.
There was one point in middle school where I put Transformers as my favorite film.
Really?
Yeah, and obviously I've grown
that didn't
a lot.
Hold up.
I've grown a lot from that.
No,
so
that's cool. You always got to remember your roots, though.
Exactly.
You got to be true to yourself. But yeah, I guess I have been watching movies for quite some time. My dad, that's like what he loved to do and stuff. But he'd always forget movies in particular. So he would go and watch it, and he'd be like halfway through it, he'd be like, "Oh, I already saw this." And we wouldn't even know. And that's kind of like a fear of mine, is that like I love this so much, but I'm afraid that like I'm just gonna start forgetting like those movies and the titles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because I have a shitty brain.
It's such a vast. I've been remembering stuff recently that I've been like. I actually watched a YouTube video the other day that I completely forgot about 100%, and then I watched it and I'm like, it was weird because I went to the comments and there was a comment I remembered reading. I remember reading the comment of this video and I didn't remember the video.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, I remember reading this comment and I'm like, did I watch this video already? And I did. I just forgot about it 100%.
Huh.
Super weird.
So I'm glad it's not only happening to me.
Right.
So,
I'm telling you, brain farts all over.
Yeah.
Brain farts all over.
Worried about decay.
Decay? Yeah. Adam Decay?
So,
Adam Dick Cheney Decay? What?
Top 5. I'm assuming you're starting since you started with the honorable mentions.
Oh, okay. I'll start. You put me on the spot here. This one is actually, my number 5 is first for like the impactness of it. Okay. And also chronologically. Believe it or not. Okay. So it's on the same spot in both versions of my list. Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Spider-Man 2 was the film that made me fall in love with film in general, basically. It was the first film... First of all, Spider-Man 1, 2, I should say, also really helped out. Maybe I'll put that as an honorable mention too, because that was like the first time I really enjoyed a movie. But Spider-Man 2 was the first time I really realized that there can be more to a film in the sense of like story and emotion and depth. Yeah, especially with like a superhero character, because there's so much depth in that movie that people just don't give credit for. I mean, Alvin Sargent wrote the script, and he's an amazing writer. And I'm telling you, man, there's so much in that film that is so emotionally powerful. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people unfortunately don't give the film that credit, but Roger Ebert did. Just want to point that out. Okay. This film came out in 2004 when I was like a tiny kid, and this film made me like, this was the first film I really fell in love with. And I've seen Spider-Man 2 more than any other film in my entire life, I bet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, it's been in your life for so long, too.
It's been in my life for so long, yeah. Even though I think there are films that, I mean, of course, are better than Spider-Man 2, but Spider-Man 2 I've seen more than any other film in my life, and I never get bored of it. I
I get that.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, I like that movie, too. I actually did like that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I liked movies, but I never was like, oh, you can have a favorite movie? I didn't think that was I didn't understand that concept till later in my life. Mm-hmm. So that's your... Is that
my
number
5? That's my number 5, yes.
All right, so my number 5... chronologically, and this is so late, so please don't judge me, people.
I won't judge you.
All right, so I never have like set titles for these tiers. I really should, but I just on the spot while I was writing this, I'm like, this is what I'm gonna name it. So this is what it's called. Number 5, the tier is called Whoa, what's this? And so finally, I discovered film. No Country for Old Men.
Loser! No, I'm joking. I'm just joking.
Oh, man. Yeah, I know. 2007. I didn't... When I went to go see this movie in theaters, I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't know anything about this movie. I just heard from a friend in art class. He's like, oh, dude, it was so good. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me go check it out. Yeah. The tone, the pacing... the unique villain traits, it brought me in. It's unpredictable, and it's almost unparalleled tension of the 21st century. Yeah. Like, sometimes you don't even understand why the tension is happening. Like the coin flip scene. It's like, why is this person doing this? But it's interesting because it's almost like it feels like a Western film, but it's like a 180 on everything that like are the founding traits of Westerns. So I didn't really understand that back then, but I was kind of mesmerized by the film. Yeah. And I would have to say that was one of the first times where I was like, this is my favorite movie of all time. Yeah. That and like around the time like Watchmen came out, like a couple of years later. Yeah. These are like my favorite movies or whatever. So this was the first in that category. So I don't know, love that movie.
Awesome.
Still love it.
Good. I like it. I like that film too.
Yeah. I do like There Will Be Blood more than I like that, even though everyone...
Really?
I think I do. I think I've decided.
Yeah, I like No Country for Old Men a lot. I know a lot of people hate the ending of that film. I really like it, especially...
I like the ending. Yeah. That was part of the reason why I liked it so much.
Especially recently, like, I got some new information that kind of made me look at the ending from a different way, and I was like... Nice.
Yeah, people misinterpreted it.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Especially, I think I watched it with like my stepmom. She hated that film. But my dad really liked it. Yeah. So, yeah, it was like a bare bones explanation of the ending from her. Yeah. But yeah, you dig a little bit deeper, you might find something different.
Yeah, for sure. Is that all I got to say about No Country? All right. My next one in terms of impact on my life, this basically just made me love a genre again. I've talked about it. I'm not going to talk about this one too much because I've already talked about it, is Insidious. Okay. This film made me fall in love with horror. And
I knew this was going to show up.
Yeah, of course. And now horror is like one of my favorite genres. I mean, before Insidious, dude, I hated horror. It was my least favorite genre. I'm like, horror is garbage. Like, there's no art to it. And then James Wan was like, oh, hold my beer.
But wait a minute.
It's so funny that the guy who inadvertently ruined horror made horror good again. Because Insidious was the start of, like, the horror renaissance that we were in for, like, a long time. For, like, those, 3 or 4 years or whatever. Yep. And, we're still seeing some of that here, like, still. But it is starting to fall off again just a little bit. But what James Wan did, ironically, because he started Saw... Even though the first Saw is very different than the rest of them. It wasn't until the sequels where it turned into torture porn. But I'm neither here nor there. When Insidious came out, he's like, I want to remove the gore element, and I want atmosphere to take over. Atmosphere and tone. I want to make a film that scares people, not grosses them out, not shocks them for no gratuitous reason, Lars von Trier, and, who actually makes good horror films. And not only does he make good horror films, he also, pays tribute to, old B-movie schlocky horror films, but adds depth to them. Like The Conjuring. I mean, he institutes old-fashioned movie tropes from horror, like the slow servo zooms. Where you use a servo to zoom the lens really slowly. So he uses zooms instead of dollies, which is a very old-fashioned technique for horror. This made me realize that, okay, horror, there is an art form to horror. There is depth to horror. Horror can end on a happy note. Horror can have a good sequel, which I liked Insidious 2, by the way. I know a lot of people don't. I mean, James Wan is a genius, in my opinion. I think he's one of the best filmmakers in the last 10 years. I think James Wan is. And,
okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've talked about this film so many times and all that stuff. So I'm just going to end it right there.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you didn't find an art form in it before this. Did you ever see not saying that it's because it's artsy to do this type of thing, but makeup work heavy stuff like Hellraiser and stuff and American Werewolf in London?
Yes, I didn't see American Werewolf in London at that time, but before Insidious. I was familiar with some horror. I watched a lot of the Jason movies and a lot of the Freddy movies, and a lot of the crap sequels and stuff, which now looking back, I can see the schlockiness to them and enjoy them. But when I was a kid, I was like, this sucks. This is dumb.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever appreciate those kind of aspects, like the makeup work and stuff
specifically like that? Honestly,
practical effects.
When I was a kid, no, I didn't really pay attention to that. I would just watch a movie and then just determine if I enjoyed it or not.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I would just watch a movie when I was younger and be like, I didn't like it. But I wouldn't really dive into why I didn't like it. I just wouldn't. And then with horror, at that point, this is when Saw and Hostel was the thing. Mm-hmm. And Final Destination, the sequels too, I saw. And I saw Final Destination 3 and I was like, this is awful. Even as a kid, I was like, this is awful. This just sucks.
The early 2000s had a rough patch of horror.
Yeah, it was real bad. So... And yeah, before Insidious, I was horror was my least favorite genre.
I get it. I totally get it.
And now, dude, it's weird to say that now because I'm such a huge horror fanatic now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's because of Insidious.
And a lot of people are. There's tons of horror fanatics out there. And it's I'm always interested to see, what one is the thing, the turning point for them.
Yeah.
What got you into it.
Exactly. And I remember it was Insidious 2 came out, and then the Sinister came out too, and then
Sinister.
Sinister was crazy, and then Oculus, which I actually didn't see Oculus when it first came out. It took me a couple of years, but that was really good too. Mm-hmm. And what else? Oh god, I had one. The Conjuring, The Conjuring too. They all came out within that 2-year span, and I was like, man, horror's dope. Horror's dope.
Yeah. So, good stuff. So
good stuff.
Your number 4.
That's my number.
Let's see what we got here. All right. I saw this movie 4 times within the first week that I saw it.
Damn, son.
I loved it so much. It's such a generic pick. The title of this tier is called Film is Cool.
Film is Cool.
Film's cool. Yeah. It's cool. Dark Knight.
Nice.
I love that movie. I didn't know you could have a favorite movie before. Oh wait, no, I already said that. Don't listen to that. I'm reading off this stupid thing. Best relationship and dynamic between a hero and villain that I've seen at the time, and it still holds up real well today because it's you have to have a hero or a villain that is exactly the complete opposite of what the hero stands for and stuff like that. And the Joker is interesting because, I mean, in the comics, I don't want to maybe I'm gonna go too far with this, and I don't know enough about this kind of stuff. But it kind of seemed like his reasons for his motives and stuff like that were kind of you could understand him a little bit more because there's so much material that you have to work with. But for this movie, there's not a lot of material, and he's a complete fucking mystery.
It really depends on which iteration of the Joker you read, because with every comic book writer, they change up the story.
And there's always alternate universes and stuff like that.
Yeah, this one is definitely, I believe Heath Ledger's Joker was definitely inspired by Frank Miller's Joker because...
Makes sense.
Because, there's the whole motif of him having multiple stories about where he came from and who he is, and no one really knows what's real. That was out of the comics. There was comic book. I think it was a Frank Miller comic. It might have been Dark Knight Returns, actually, where he said the Joker was like, I don't even remember where I came from, but if I have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice. And it's
sick.
It is sick, and yeah, the dynamic between Joker and Batman has always been an interesting foil.
You can see that type of Frank Miller stuff in this movie too. Since you bring it up, like they don't know where his clothes and stuff. Like he's completely like
fingerprints burned off.
Mm-hmm. He every time he tells a story about like his dad and stuff, there's always like a slight difference to it or whatever. So yeah, I definitely get that from him. And I thought it was always interesting that he had plans and stuff, and there's always like a mystery like element to like his plans. It's like, how is this going to play out? What is his actual plan? Even though it seems so obvious that he wants you to think this, and it had me playing along by the end of it. Like the ending scene with the boat. I even had like theory when I was a kid, like, oh, I know exactly, or like, a teenager, where I was like, I knew this is what he would have done if you would have seen it unfold or whatever. Like that. And so it was interesting that I started playing along like it was a mystery. And then this was the first time in a movie that I'd taken notice of cinematography. There's something about the cinematography where Batman, he's a mortal man, and that's what the writing suggests, that he has like very human problems, but the cinematography seems to like suggest differently. It says he's a larger than life person and stuff like that. And I took notice of that for the first time. And I do appreciate cinematography now, kind of because of that film.
Wally Pfister did the cinematography for that film. He's a great cinematographer. Very unfortunate last name, but
oh yeah.
But the psychological warfare between Joker and Batman in that film is the thing that propels that film into greatness. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what really separated that Batman film not only from the rest of the Batman films, but just not even to the rest of the Batman films, not even to freaking superhero films, but just like films in general. Which I think that film too was that film and Iron Man, which by the way came out in the same year, 2008. So that was a great year for superhero films. I feel like both those films, but especially The Dark Knight, was a turning point for people's views on superhero films. In general,
it's a good transition for people that weren't really a fan of them to begin with, because it feels more grounded.
It's more like a crime drama with Batman.
And Nolan's choice to use characters that were human, like that could potentially be a threat, as opposed to like Killer Croc or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that like you would never see in the real world, was kind of an interesting choice.
It was an interesting choice, and he actually created a little genre, sort of. When people say Nolanizing a property, that means they take the property and make it like grounded in real world. So that's pretty cool.
He definitely drifted past that in like different like movies, like Inception.
Inception
like
is very sci-fi, and Interstellar
like,
too.
Prestige.
And Prestige, yeah. That has like a sort of a sci-fi-esque element to it, and because
it's like a changing of like the real world of like what actually happened, and making it like a sci-fi, because we don't understand how the technology actually works.
Yeah, it just clones them. Sorry, spoiler alert. I spoiled it. If you haven't seen Prestige by now, you're an idiot. No, I'm joking. I'm sorry.
Some people probably haven't even heard of the Prestige. It's one of his more underrated.
You ever seen The
films.
Illusionist with Paul Giamatti?
I haven't.
I haven't seen it either, but I heard it's sort of along the same lines. I remember, I think my mom I saw Prestige with my mom, and she's like, it was good, but I like The Illusionist better. So I need to see it. So
really?
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll like it.
Better? I don't know. That's what it has. Edward Norton and Jessica Biel, right?
Oh, is it Edward Norton? I thought it might have been Paul Giamatti. I don't know.
Paul Giamatti, I think, is in it too. I think Edward Norton's the main character.
Is he? I don't know. We gotta look that up.
Let me do that. All right.
I don't know if she said she liked it better, but she said it was kind of similar, and she really liked The Illusionist. So.
I might be an idiot and just like
I have
making shit
all
up.
I remember is Paul Giamatti, I think. But again, that movie is very under the radar. That's a very kind of
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. Okay, cool.
And a young Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Didn't know that.
Interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I might check it out one day since I like Prestige.
Yeah, for sure.
I fucking love The Dark Knight though, dude. Yeah. I need to rewatch it so bad. I need to rewatch all of them at some point. December. You know how you do. Obviously, everybody does Halloween films.
Yeah.
During October, makes sense. I like to do trilogies for December.
Really?
I don't know, because we used to do it. It used to be a tradition like 6 or 7 years ago where we would watch it started with Die Hard.
Okay.
Because that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Christmas, yeah.
And then we watched one every year after that. I can't even remember some of them. Back to the Future, the Star Wars, the original trilogy, and stuff like that. We've watched, and I kind of wanted to expand past that because my family always wanted to watch, simple ones. But I'm like, man, dude, I want to watch like the Apartment trilogy or like the Color trilogy or stuff, which I bought. And
Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah, that would. I feel like they would have liked that one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. So I might end up watching Dark Knight for it.
Do it, man. I want to go into more of Christmas films because I do love Christmas films. I'm having a hard time getting into the Christmas spirit right now. I don't know why, because I feel like time is just flying by so fast that I feel like I don't have enough time to get into the spirit. But I'm trying to, and I love Christmas. It's like one of my favorite holidays. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to watch some Christmas films, get me in the spirit, because I love Christmas films. I was watching this, sorry to go on a tangent here, I was watching this thing by Double Toasted. They were talking about Christmas films. They kind of pissed me off with their whole idea of like Christmas films, saying that Christmas films are outdated because they're like cheesy now and all that like love and peace and stuff like that like doesn't
we need more of that.
Yeah, that's what I said. And they're like, oh yeah, but all that stuff's phony. It's like, like, oh, Jesus bringing, love, peace on earth. I'm like, he's like that's all phony. And I'm like, wow, way to be an asshole on top of that. And I'm like, nah, dude. And he was talking about how that's why there's been such a rise in like, Bad Santa or Krampus or like these like very dark, like even like raunchy comedies like Office Christmas Party. There's these really dark like Christmas movies, and I'm like, I do like some off-kiltered Christmas movies. Sure, I do like Die Hard. It's a great Christmas film, but at the same time, I'm not gonna be like, I don't want to see like warm and fuzzy Christmas films. Come on, son. That's what Christmas is about. Yeah, that's what it should be about.
How many people do you know that are like, Bad Santa is my favorite Christmas movie? Probably not a lot. Yeah. People probably like Christmas Story a lot more. Or
exactly.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Exactly.
And, I mean, just because there was a rise in it doesn't mean that that's what people want.
Yeah, 100%. So that's honestly kind of what made me a little irritated, and that's why I texted you that one thing. I'm like, we need to talk about this during December sometime.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, we need to talk about this.
Gotcha.
And so we'll dive deeper into that whole idea, the whole philosophy on it, later this month. So expect some Christmas episodes. What's your number one Christmas movie? I really wonder. No, I'm joking. Wow. That was a joke. Wow. That was a joke. But you know that we got to do that list, though. So.
Yeah, there's a couple I actually want to watch specifically for that list. Yeah. There's two in particular that I really wanted to see for quite some time.
There's a lot of Christmas films that like I enjoy, so it's interesting. All right, on to my number 3, Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Yes. I've talked about this film so much. I don't know what to say. Okay, first of all, this film made me love Westerns. So that's huge right then and there.
Yep.
It also kind of laid the groundwork for me to love old films at the time, because I saw it at a really young age. I saw it in Greece for the first time. I've mentioned that before on VHS. And again, it established my love for Westerns, but it didn't necessarily establish my love for older films or like Golden or even Silver Age films. But there was another film on this list that did, which is actually my next film. So this film laid the groundwork, but the next film cemented my love for old films. But what this film did was cement my love for Westerns and the Western like tropes, the way things are filmed, music in film. It was the first time I really noticed music in film. And it was the first time where I'm like, okay, I can see this. I can like, this film, that music is this film.
It is.
And I don't know, it made me really appreciate music in film. So it broke down that layer of me not being able to see it beforehand. So, I mean, if a film can do that, it's got to be on my list. So, I've talked about this film to death, too. A lot of these films I've already talked about, so I don't want to, like, bore you with it.
It's gonna happen. It's inevitable.
Yeah, exactly. So, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, boom. There you go.
So, like we said, we probably will mix it up. We'll be like, well, this is my actual answer, but this is another movie that I want to bring to your attention.
Yeah.
Kind of, like, expand... and maybe hopefully give you guys something to watch that you might not have seen.
We don't want to sound like a parrot on here and just like keep reiterating the same thing. Insidious, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, like I've talked about.
Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Did I ever tell you who? That was actually the first movie that got me into like really into westerns too. I've seen a couple before, but Do you know who I watched it with for the first time?
Brian?
Yep.
I knew it.
Brian mentioned...
There's our Brian mention.
Brian mentioned that's why I brought it up.
Yeah,
he showed me that because he's like, this is my favorite movie of all time. And I immediately understood why it was his favorite.
It was so
and
good.
It's so good. And it's, it's his favorite, and I know he defends it. He still loves Once Upon a Time in the West, but he defends this movie over it.
You see, Good, Bad, the Ugly, it's funny because that is Brian's favorite Western. And, it's so many people's favorite Western that I was like, it's a bit cliche. Maybe I shouldn't pick Good, Bad, the Ugly, but I'm like, I gotta pick Good and Bad.
You gotta go with what your heart says.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's Good, Bad, and the Ugly. It is close between that and Once Upon a Time in the West, but Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, you can't beat it. Fistful of Dollars too is also really good.
Yeah, all of those are good.
Yes, for a few dollars more.
Yeah,
well.
That's a good one too.
Mm-hmm. I like Hang 'em High. A lot of people don't. Do you like Hang 'em High?
I have not seen that one.
That one's pretty good. I remember a lot of people didn't like that one for some reason. I liked it.
So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. So we kind of had the same starting point, but it was probably like 15 years after you had your starting point.
That's right, man. That's right.
Unfortunate.
It's all good, man. Late bloomer.
Late bloomer.
There it is.
Yeah.
Cheers.
But so number 3. Number 3 is titled "I Like Movies, Bro."
All right, bro.
I like movies. They're fucking awesome.
I like movies, bro.
And my number 3 is probably the movie that I've seen more than any other movie out there.
Okay.
Perhaps The Departed. It's like a cat and rat, and I say that because they're looking for the rat. A cat and rat game layered over a cat and rat game. It's such an interesting premise that immediately, I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Where there's an undercover cop in a gang, and then there's a gang member that's a cop, and he's got a pretty high position, and they're both looking for each other. They both are aware of each other's existence, and it's so cool. Immediately was in love with the cast. The cast is awesome. The performances are great. The pacing is so killer. It's almost weird to think that this movie's almost 2.5 hours. It's so fast.
Yeah.
When you watch it, it breezes by. It's got great progression. It's thrilling every moment. And at the time, it had, for me, the best ending of any movie. It was explosive. I did not see it coming at all.
Same.
Ooh.
Have you ever seen Internal Affairs?
I have not.
The original? Yeah, this is a remake of that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. I'm gonna be honest.
This movie is a remake of a Japanese film called Internal Affairs.
Internal Affairs.
I believe it's called Internal Affairs.
Obviously, I can't really. There's a specific movie that the ending reminded me of, but this movie took it to a higher level.
Right.
You know exactly what movie I'm talking about. Yeah. You looking it up right now?
Yeah, oh no, it is Internal Affairs. I was just looking up just to.
I know that movie.
Fact check, yeah.
I know that movie. I just didn't know that.
I just wanted to be 100% sure that was the name of that
Departed.
film. So yeah, The Departed is a remake of that. So yeah, but the ending reminds you of a certain other film.
You know exactly what movie it is, right?
I think I do.
Oh well.
I don't know if that's gonna spoil it though.
Yeah, it's 100% gonna spoil it. You should just watch The Departed.
Yeah, just watch it.
And I just every character participates in a shit talk match when they want to intimidate each other.
Yeah,
all of them are so funny, but the king is Jack Nicholson.
Yes,
he's so funny.
Yes.
In this movie. It's just for me, it's everything I wanted in a crime drama, and that just, as you can see from a lot of these movies, I'm really heavy into that crime stuff. It's a big deal for me. I don't know. It's one of my favorite types of movies. But yeah, at that time, I think I might have brought this up to you. I can't remember if it was on the podcast though.
Yeah.
There was a guy. I used to work at an independent senior living place. There was a guy that lived there. He was in charge of this movie program, and they would watch a month of a certain type of film or whatever. For 1 month, it was all of Hitchcock films, and he had everything on DVD.
Yeah.
It was insane. He had such a big list, but I got to talking to him, and I was just starting to enjoy film a lot. And he was like, "What's your favorite movie?" And I said, The Departed. And he's like, "Oh, you like those kind of movies, huh?" I was like, "Oh yeah."
Nice.
Kind of like
yeah.
I don't think he likes that kind of stuff. Maybe he wasn't impressed with that answer. But I was like, "What's your favorite movie?" Doctor Strangelove. I'm like, okay,
"Oh,
cool."
nice. All right.
I really wish that I would have been able to hang out with him because he met Steven Spielberg. He went to school with Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah,
but he was. They were at this like frat thing or whatever, and he was like, they were like not hazing him or something like that, but like it was like some sort of an initiation thing, and he was like the kind of a quiet guy apparently, Steven Spielberg. Yeah. So anyway, I wish I would have been able to talk to him more because that would have been cool to hear those stories.
That is crazy, dude. That is awesome. Wow.
I love The Departed. It's good stuff.
Departed. You know, that was a film that I did not appreciate when I was younger because I was too young to appreciate it. And then as I grew old, yes.
It's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's probably...
I kind of wish... that film makes me feel bad because I was too young to appreciate it. I didn't like it. I kind of made my dad, who loves those types of films, I think my dad really would have loved it. I was like, I don't like it. And sort of like... I'm like, we should turn it off. And he probably watched it when I wasn't in the room or anything, and he probably loved it. But I'm like, man... I wish I could appreciate it back then just as much as now. You know, so we could have had that experience together.
That bond.
So that would have been an awesome
bonding experience. But hey,
we've had a lot of bonding experiences, but for some reason that film. Another one too that he really loved and I didn't love at the time was American Gangster.
Oh, okay, and that's a good movie.
It's a good movie now. I love it. It's just that was at the time when I was just too young to understand drama, which we'll get into in a second.
Yeah. So anyway. I already lost it. I had it. For Martin Scorsese films. For me, honestly, this movie has more of a history than most of his films, so for me it probably stands above them just because of the personal connection I have with it.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of his lesser rated films or whatever because he's got so many fucking monstrosities.
He's got some heavy hitters.
He's a good filmmaker.
This is kind of ironic, I think, if we were on the same page about the earlier question. My number 2 is Vertigo.
Okay.
By Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if that's the ending. That's what I thought.
Oh, no, it's not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay, never mind then. This film made me... Remember how I said there was a film that cemented my love for old cinema? This was the film. I saw Vertigo before Psycho. And so this is what made me love Alfred Hitchcock and older films. And then eventually falling in love with horror films after that as well. Or actually like during the almost exact same time, which I'll get into later. But Vertigo and Insidious I saw like right next to each other. Like in the same kind of weekend. Almost because I actually had to look it up because I did the chronologic list or whatever, and I'm like, which one did I see first? Vertigo? Because I remember when I saw it, and I'm like, but when did Insidious come out? So I looked up the release date of Insidious, and it was like 2 months apart from each other. So I'm like, I saw them like at the same time. So I think seeing Insidious, which helped my love for horror, helped me love Psycho. But I digress. Yeah. There's like a puzzle. It's like this whole thing is a puzzle.
Yeah, I was kind of starting to do that too. I had to like go through my Letterboxd from year to year. I'm like, what came out before this movie?
But yeah, Vertigo made me love mysteries, Alfred Hitchcock, and suspense films, and it really helped me appreciate a character in drama and James Stewart as an actor. I just really, really loved this film. And this film really had an impact on me because at this time I was in a film class. You know, I was doing a film class in high school or whatever, and we had to pick a film on the top 100 best films of all time by like AFI or whatever.
Do an essay or something?
And do an essay. To watch it, do an essay, make your own poster on it, and everything like that. So I chose Vertigo. It was actually me and Brendan, by the way. We were partners.
Hey!
Yeah. So we chose Vertigo. It was number 9 on the list, and we're like, let's do it. So we went to a video store. Somehow they had Vertigo. It was like an awesome double feature Vertigo thing. It had like Vertigo and then the making of Vertigo and this whole documentary on it.
Did you watch that too?
I did, yes. It was great. I watched that like a couple years after the movie. And the Vertigo is a great film, and it just established my love for old cinema. And although it's more of a Silver Age film than a Golden Age film, this film really made me think, and I'm like, you know what? I appreciate Golden Age film now. Like, I got to appreciate old film because I think as a filmmaker, that's the most important thing to have in your arsenal is a love and appreciation for old film. When I was in film school, when I was in college now, and we did a history of film class, and you had people who haven't seen a film before 1977, which is like the first Star Wars film. It's like you're why are you here?
You have to expect like a lot of people say that when you want to make films and stuff like that, you have to like explore everything. And for some people like Quentin Tarantino, you just have to explore film.
Exactly.
And he just watches all brands of it.
And we've talked about that before because he loves grindhouse art, like grindhouse schlock, but then he also loves, real like game-changing films. Mm-hmm. So like Golden Age films.
Yeah, he's got like a scene from Pulp Fiction that inspired by 8.5, like the dance sequence or whatever.
He loves 8.5, and then he loves fucking Santa Claus versus the Martians. You know what I mean? Which is a real film, by the way.
Yeah, I know it is. It's I actually was just watching one of the video essays of him from Now You See It or
something like that.
And he was talking about like him working at the video store, and he picked out like 3 movies. Like, if I could give you a movie to watch or whatever to like learn about film, he picked the weirdest movies, like weird movies I never expected. I can't remember all of them, but I do remember him picking Blowout, the film with John Travolta, and that's why he picked him up for Pulp Fiction. He's like, I really want you in this movie.
See, I know you don't like this word, but that's why I don't view Tarantino as pretentious. Is because he never thinks he's above film in any way. Like, there are people who look down on superhero films or even blockbuster films. When Steven Spielberg was coming into prominence, there's a whole interview, I should send you this, it's on YouTube, where the interviewer asks, what do you think of the filmmakers who say that your films aren't really art, they're just a fun time? And it's like, you're saying that to Steven Spielberg.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, they're like, and there was like all this, like, there's some filmmakers who don't believe Spielberg's films are really true art, but rather just fun family films made by a man who just wants to make big money. And I'm like, so this conversation has been happening for a long time. And that's why I love Tarantino. He never, I remember when Dan Gilroy and Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu went and like trashed on superhero films, saying that Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu called superhero films cultural genocide.
I heard that, yeah.
You fucking kidding me? Genocide? Cultural genocide? You're insane. And then Quentin Tarantino, not in response to his comment, but he was asked the same question. Tarantino was like, I love superhero films.
I gotta know then, what does he watch when he like, I just want to sit back and have a good time. I want to know what his fucking choice is.
Probably everything. Because he makes a list.
No, I'm talking about Alejandro.
Oh, Alejandro?
Yeah, I'm curious.
That is a good question. I don't know.
It's like, when I just want to sit back and not think that much, he's probably throwing on something like
Lost in Translation or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say something along those lines or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, Wes Anderson film.
Yeah,
nice and cozy Wes Anderson. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
What are you talking about? Yeah, I know, right? Oh man, I'm kind of in like a mood for just like a laid back film. Schindler's List. Here we go.
It's like three hours long.
Yeah, no, Schindler's List. Actually, you know what? Let's do Showa. How about that? It's like, oh my god. No, but yeah, that's why I love Tarantino. That's why I don't think he's pretentious, because he loves all those films, and he makes a list every year of his top 10 films of the year.
And you could see his lists are weird.
Like, I can't remember some of his picks, but I remember one thing that really weirded me out was The Intern with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro was on his top 10 list.
Really?
I was like, whoa.
One of his top 10s had Kick-Ass on it. Mm-hmm. One of his top 10 had The Lone Ranger on it.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. He likes everything, man.
He does, and that's why.
And he sticks to his guns too.
He does. He really does.
I always appreciate that.
What are they going to say? That he's wrong? I mean, like, he's Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's why I really like him. I don't know what we were on. I think I was talking about Vertigo.
Don't even remember.
I don't know how this tangent happened. I think we were talking about Vertigo.
Oh yeah, because the exploring movies.
Yeah,
and stuff
exploring
like that.
movies. So this film made me really appreciate, old school cinema as well. And that was kind of the stepping stone. Boom, there you go.
My stepping stone was pretty obvious. My next tier is I Heart Movies.
Yes.
And of course it's a Wonderful Life. It's self-explanatory. I don't even want to talk about it because I know that we're going to be
talking about it soon.
We talked about watching it, so if that's the case, we'll probably end up reviewing it.
That's right. It's a great movie though. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah.
Many times being like twice.
Twice?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't even really have to go into it.
I mean, yeah. Plus, we're going to talk about that when we talk about our Christmas list, too. That's going to be on both of our lists.
So this is not one of those times where I'm like, I'll just throw an alternate answer. Because actually, there's a couple, around that time, there was a couple films, black and white films, like 12 Angry Men was one of them.
That's a good film, too.
That was a big deal for me. We started to watch it in a government class, or a law class. In high school, and this teacher was a complete pushover. He's like, he throws it on, and everyone's talking, so like 10 minutes into the movie, I'm trying to actually watch it. 10 minutes into the movie, he shuts it off. He's like, you guys aren't listening. Just do whatever you want for the rest of the class. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're a teacher? You get paid? And so I ended up torrenting the film, but I bought it, so I paid my dues. So I torrented it, I watched it, I loved it. So that would have been a great alternate choice.
Yeah, for sure. 12 Angry Men, great film.
Yep.
I just had to do that. I know we finished talking about Good, Bad, and the Ugly, but I had to talk about it. Oh, I got a text. Okay. My number one. Number one. I think you already know what it is. It's Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know what? I didn't even try to think of what yours was gonna be, but that seems like such an obvious choice.
Yeah. This was the film, Slumdog Millionaire. This was the film that made me realize there's more to movies than just explosions and fun action. This film made me love drama. It made me love drama and character, and it changed my whole perception of film. It's like, oh, wait, I can be entertained by a film that doesn't have action and explosions and fight scenes?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I can. So the reason I love drama, which is now my favorite genre, is because of Slumdog Millionaire. Now, a lot of people think I think Slumdog Millionaire is kind of underrated. A lot of people don't talk about Slumdog Millionaire.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
It did when it came out.
Yeah, it won Best Friggin' Picture, deservedly so.
It's one of those reasons why people are sheeples.
Yeah. So I watched it and I'm like, wow, this film, I was like, holy crap, this film is so good. This film made me fall in love with drama, made me fall in love with untraditional cinematography with Anthony Dodd Mantle, who did some amazing cinematography for that. It also made me fall in love with love stories and positive filmmaking, which is like my whole thing now. Is like, again, like I said, I don't enjoy cynicism in my films. I mean, sometimes it works. But I like positive films more than obviously pessimistic films.
Sure.
You know, and that is due to Slumdog Millionaire. You know, because it made me fall in love with love stories and the whole message of that film. Although there are some dark elements in that, you know what this film is? And it's been years since I've said this, but it's true. This film is a fairy tale. Oh, it's raining.
It is raining.
Oh, man. This film is a fairy tale come to life. This is like a modern love story fairy tale. But it shows that this fairy tale mentality of like this boy who loves this girl for his whole life can be shown in the real world, and that throughout all this adversity in the real world, through all this dark shit that happens in the real world, their love still triumphs, which on paper sounds cheesy as hell because, oh, what is this, a fairy tale? Yes, Slumdog Millionaire is a fairy tale come to life in a very realistic atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And that's why I loved it. And, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, partly because of that reason. It had the most impact on me as,
film viewer?
A film viewer, yes, thank you. I'm dead right now.
I thought you were going to say film. I was like filmmaker or
No, it was viewer,
Okay.
film viewer. And this was my number one film for a long time. Mm-hmm. It was like my number one.
The first time we had a conversation about films, that was the movie that you said.
Yes, that's right, Slumdog Millionaire. Because it just changed my whole perspective on film. And that's what this list is. It's what films have changed your perspective. And this was not the first film to change my perspective on film. If we did it chronologically, this would not be number one. But I feel like this had the most impact on me as a viewer, as a person who loves film. This film made me break out of my box, out of my little bubble with
the
film.
comfort zone.
And I was like, there's more to film than just what I'm seeing or what I think. There's like this whole other world with film, this whole other aspect. And I guarantee you, if it wasn't for Slumdog Millionaire, I couldn't go back to films like American Gangster or The Departed and love them. Mm-hmm. You know, because, you know, those films to me, I was not entertained by drama until Slumdog Millionaire. So, booyah.
One thing that really brought me in when I was watching it is that framing device.
Yeah.
With the
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? So good.
Keeps going back to why he knew the answer. To and it's so good. Mm-hmm. I wonder what it's like to be like a filmmaker like Danny Boyle, and if he ever heard something like this, to hear that this opened your eyes to like what films could actually do, right? What his response would be, what his reaction would be.
That's true. I love Danny Boyle too.
Yeah, he's a great filmmaker.
I would love to meet him and tell him this. I would love to tell him this. You know, I'd be like, dude, like if it wasn't for Slumdog, like
I don't know what I would be watching.
I don't know what I'd be watching. I'd probably want to be Michael Bay.
And it's funny because your favorite movie was Transformers.
Transformers at the time, yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So, my number one is going to be a huge cop-out, and I'm really sorry.
I'm
very, very sorry.
I doubt it. I mean, hey.
It is. Trust me.
You're talking to Mr. Cliche.
Because it's not... I couldn't pick one. So I just...
did you have multiple?
Well, here, let me just... number one tier is film is my medium of choice. And that remains true.
Can I guess one of them?
Can you guess one of them?
2001?
No.
Oh, okay.
2001 I watched around the time I watched It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, what are you...
Okay, well, I just brought it up. So, for me, it was literally just the year 2014. The year 2014 was my favorite year in film, and like I said, I had all that time. That was the first year where I watched every single movie that I have wanted to see, and there's so many like strong choices from that year, but not one of them is like encapsulates everything that I love about movies. It's the diversity of that film can offer,
right,
and stuff like that. So standouts include The Raid 2, Enemy, Under the Skin, Interstellar, Boyhood, Whiplash. This year,
so good.
This year in film it's currently my favorite. Like I said, I have a connection with it. It got me deep into art house, indie cinema, and world cinema with stuff like Ida, Force Majeure, Venus and Fur, Starred Up, The Immigrant. It's just incredibly diverse. This is I owe everything to that year. Because, like I said, that's where I found myself. And it wasn't like one specific movie. It's really hard to say like one specific movie. They're all like so special to me and
that's
stuff
awesome,
like that.
dude.
So there is a very cop-out answer, but I'm sticking to it, dude.
It's a good answer.
I love movies, and part of that reason was, and part of the reason why I switched my major was because of that year. Which is unfortunate. Because I wasted a lot of money.
Hey, man, that happens. I once knew a girl who went through the entire program at film school to be a filmmaker. First of all, I love her. She was a great, great friend. She was super nice.
This is going to hurt my soul.
But, like, we would talk to her. She wanted to be a filmmaker, right? Uh-huh. Never seen any of the Star Wars. Never seen any of the Lord of the Rings. Never seen Jurassic Park. Never seen any of the James Bonds. Never seen Jaws. Never seen anything, dude. And then the craziest one to me was this one. I asked her. I'm like, this is during Christmas time. I'm like, what's your favorite Christmas movie? I'm like, I like Christmas Story, whatever. And I'm like, hey, Brenna, have you ever seen A Christmas Story? And she's like, no, I don't even know what that is. I'm like, how do you not? What?
That's
you can't avoid that. Okay,
it wasn't that weird to me until you said that. It's like hearing about it in passing. It's like almost inescapable.
Yeah, exactly.
How have you never heard of that?
Yeah.
My friend Mark loves film right now. That's his like favorite thing.
Yeah.
That's all we really do together, and he's making me spend a ton of money on the theater because he always wants to go see literally everything that comes out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hurts me a little bit financially. But he had not seen any of those movies that you're talking about.
It's crazy I guess it's crazy to us as film lovers, man. But even just, she's never seen Back to the Future as well.
I just watched it with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm telling you, he didn't discover the roots. He just jumped right into it.
Oh, man.
And he loves like every type of film that comes out as late.
The first time, it was funny because the first time I ever watched Blade Runner was with her and our group of friends. Because my friend Ruggles, his name was Ruggles, that was his last name, but we just called him that. He had a whole case of Blu-rays and DVDs, and we all picked our picks, and I'm like, let's watch Blade Runner. I want to watch that. He's like, all right. So we watched it, and that was the first time I watched Blade Runner, was in college.
Oh.
And it was great. Loved it. I don't think they liked it as much as me. But point is, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. The reason I brought her up is because you said you changed your major. She went through the entire film program. Like, she graduated with us and everything. And then went back to do another thing that is her career now, which is show production. Like, stage and stuff.
Okay, that's not as bad. I thought you were going to say, like, something completely different.
Well, she had to, like, repay
like, she wants to,
again.
like, be a nurse or something like that. It's completely, like, not even in
I'm talking, like, music. Like, she wants to, like, be the mixers mixing, like live bands.
Oh,
like,
which is the complete opposite of what I was doing.
Like, music.
I was doing music, production.
Yeah. I'm not talking about, like, theater. Like
that's what I thought you were saying.
No, she changed it, and, like, she's doing, like, like
live sound.
like live sound.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh.
and the crazy thing is that you graduated. You could have changed majors in the middle of the year, but instead you graduated with us entirely. Went back and then did that whole thing. I'm like, oh my god.
I got about halfway through, and like it was 2016 when I like stopped going to school. So I had like all that 3-year period to like decide, and I just kept going with it. So I'm kind of in the same boat.
I got you.
Dumb.
If you're
Big
curious
dumb
about my chronologic order, it goes Spider-Man 2, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Slumdog Millionaire, Insidious, and then Vertigo.
Okay. Interesting that Vertigo is the last one on the list, but
It
that's
is,
what I was
yeah.
talking about last. Is like the old films, black and white films. So yeah, there's good lists.
Yes.
And I mean, most of them I've already heard from you.
Yeah, pretty much.